Well, hello and welcome to another English couple chat in which the lovely Julia and I chat about all sorts of English things and coupley
Coupley
things.
things.
I thought, seeing as you picked the subject last time, I'd pick the subject and today talk about work, as in couples either working together and couples who
Juggling work together?
juggling work. One works here, one works there, one doesn't work, one needs work, whatever it is, and how that affects relationships, and whether there's a professional relationship and then the personal relationship, and how that.
How that marries out.
Yes.
Works out.
So we work together. We're working now, and some people might think that's not work. You just turn a camera on and you just chat. How is that work? And so let me ask you then, because we do tend to put our experiences on the line. How do you find working with me when I've got my producer director mode on?
There's no easy way of saying it. It can be very difficult.
Yes.
It can be very difficult. But I know that, I know why it gets like that, because the end product is always so worth it. So,
Am I difficult to work with? Hang on. Do I change my personality when I'm into my,
airs and graces go out the window.
Yes, it's true.
Bull in a china shop could be, but it's because that's why your end product is so good, because you get in your zone and you're on it. So I understand it. Sometimes it can be hard to not take it personally.
Well, I was going to say, how is the tolerance level? Because when I'm working, I don't mean anything personally. I just want to get in that position, smile now, do the thing. Great, we move on.
And if as the other person you don't quite get what it is you're saying, because you la 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 la, and it's like so sometimes it can be a little harder to get to grips with it, but you get the job done.
Yes. So
and we haven't had any major fallout, so
no. I mean,
not major ones.
Not major ones. But I can tell sometimes when I've overstepped the mark, even professionally. And the other thing is, of course, because we work together and we are in a relationship, it's very easy, I think, for one to blur that line and almost take you for granted, whereas perhaps I wouldn't take, if we were working with, say, Ricky or somebody else, or Tim or whatever, I might be more respectful for them because I'm not in a relationship with somebody, which is a really bad thing to admit.
Yeah, well, it's that other half thing,
Yes.
So it's slightly reassuring for me in the sense that I am, in your mind, considered your other half. I know some people don't like. Some people don't like when I do that either, but quote marks. But what was I saying?
Some people don't like the being the other half.
That's right, but it's not like you're two halves of one whole, but
well, I am
you
halves
are.
of one whole, hopefully.
Yeah. I don't know how to explain that, but
I guess there's that feeling that that you can have a quiet word with me on a different level after the event, and if I have been rude or anything like that, that you can say, hey, I felt a bit embarrassed when you spoke to me this way, because you wouldn't speak to Tim or Rachel or anybody else that way.
But like I say, it is reassuring in a way because because I know that you wouldn't do that to other people.
No.
So the fact that I do means that I am indeed.
Yeah. So how
I know what I mean.
Yeah. Good. So when we're working and I'm clearly taking on a role of the boss, because it's my project. But now, of course, we must remind people, although it looks like often that we actually live together, at this stage in our relationship, we don't. Julia is still, unfortunately, tied in by marriage to her ex-partner.
And legal difficulties.
And problems with house and all of that, which is, a private matter. So we don't live together. So our experiences of living together as male and female partner couple, he says, trying to choose the words ever so carefully, is quite limited at this stage, and I can only go by my experiences with my ex-wife. I mean, even when my old relationship from some time ago now with a lady who I saw in a distance. I only stayed at weekends, which was similar to what we've got at the moment.
Except we're closer.
But
in
we're
distance.
closer, yes. And you've got a key. You can come and go whenever you like. And if I'm not here, you've come in and watered the plants,
Yes.
which is fantastic. So, but what I wanted to get onto was that the sort of, if I'm playing the boss role when we're working, in other times of the relationship, do you ever feel that you can not become the boss, but take a more dominant role?
But take a lead, yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I do feel more so. I mean, I'm not a sheep as such, but
No.
I do like in a herd, you know, you'll get a slightly more dominant one, and
Yes.
everyone, all the other members of the herd will be relatively happy just to follow,
Absolutely.
or you know, be guided by that person, but will sometimes try and make their own idea, and the herd might follow that way. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So
So,
I
what
do-
role do you play in that?
I like to have a strong person to follow,
Yeah.
as such.
Yeah.
This is really loose wording here. But then be able to, but what about this? And then maybe we
So
all go
what
with
suggests
it.
to
Yeah,
suggest
yeah,
lots
so-
of things. Yes, and I mean when I'm not playing the boss, it's quite nice to sort of default that sort of decision making. What should we do to somebody else?
Yeah.
So that we mentioned before that we read a book together, and you'll very often say, "Oh, how about we do a bit of reading?" And I think, "Oh yeah, actually, that's a great idea." So you might instigate various things.
Absolutely. I'll put ideas out there for sure.
And emotionally now, of course, people don't want to hear the yucky stuff, but I would say that on the emotional and all the sort of more romantic stuff, I would definitely say you're the lead
The
on
lead
that.
on that.
That you'll almost say,
Like, oi, I'm
Yeah.
human.
"Put
I want your
books down."
attention.
Exactly. And it's like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that is part of what I want as well. This is why you're in a relationship, hopefully. But it's nice to have somebody else take control on that. So that's us in that respect. Now, of course, with work, and that's what we're trying to sort of explore, in your past relationships, you in your marriage, without going into the details of it, your husband would go out to work, and then you would become a housewife or full-time
housewife,
mother as
mum.
well.
Yeah.
Which
Not that I was very good at being a housewife.
no, I'm sure you were.
100% better than I was when I first got married.
Oh right, is that still plugged in? Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Phew.
That's the microphone. Just say a few words so I can see it.
Few words. 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3.
Excellent. Yeah, so husband would go to. So now I know some people feel that being a housewife is a derogatory role, is
Yeah.
sort of beneath people now. That bringing up the family is no longer an important thing.
Psychologically, it's a depressing thing for some people. Not
Right.
everyone, of course. Everyone's different. But,
Yes.
psychologically, I found it difficult.
Difficult because when somebody else takes control of, say, the finances because they go to work, it leaves the other person a little bit dependent on, very
A
much
lot
dependent on the
yeah.
other person saying, this is how we divvy up the money that I've gone and earned. And of course, but do you not think that being a mother in its own right, bringing up children, is work? It may not be paid work in the conventional way.
Well, yes, it is. I mean, it's a full-time job, isn't it?
Yes, it's
it's
hard
24/7.
work.
It's the hardest job on the planet, being a parent.
And anybody who's seen Joe will know that he is not a...
He is full on.
Full on, yeah. And all kids
I mean, he's
come
not
in
a
shapes
bad
and...
kid.
No, I'm
you know,
not
by
saying
any
that.
stretch.
No.
He gets into mischief. But
I was going to say, kids come in all shapes and sizes, and some can be just as hard if they won't get out of bed. I mean, my son Billy won't thank me for saying that when he was 14, 15, getting him to school was really tough. We've laughed about it since, so he knows,
Yeah.
But at the time, as kids grow up and go through the teens, and I'm sure many people will reflect on this themselves, that that's hard work, being a mum. And if one of you is absent because of the demands of work and earning a living, and particularly if only one can bring in an income, then it is down to the other half who's looking after the children to do all of that, which, as you say, is hard work, and very often not appreciated as work, I think.
yeah.
Do you think that sometimes partners the one that has this very clear-cut role of going to a job doesn't always see that the mother who's at home has a role
Or the
and a
father,
job.
because sometimes it is the other way. It's
Yes.
not terribly often, but
No,
it does happen.
but yeah, so the one that goes to work.
Absolutely. It's difficult to see that when you go away and come back, and you've not seen how many times that room has been cleaned and tidied.
Yes.
And you've not seen how many times the kid has climbed up the curtain rail.
Yeah.
And how many times you've had to put the curtain back on the rail, etc., etc. You know, it's insurmountable.
It is, yeah, absolutely, and you can't appreciate, because I suppose, what you're doing is nurturing your child. You're also ferrying him to and from whatever
Nurseries, playgrounds,
school.
friends' houses.
Exactly, and it's an incremental job of bringing up those children and inspiring them and giving them an understanding of the world, building confidence, and all the skills that they will need. Whereas when you are the one that's left the home and come back, excuse me, you've basically come back with an allotted amount of money for what you've done that these days isn't even in cash form, it's in the bank. You don't even see it.
You don't even see it, no.
But you know that hopefully the bills will be paid. And often I think that the person coming back doesn't always appreciate what's gone on in a day, because you've basically been at home. It's interesting now, though, with this whole dynamic of people working at home.
Yes.
They must see, if they've got children, what's going on and how difficult it is to get on and do just one or two tasks.
My younger brother discovered this yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, when I went to Wiltshire to see him and his wife and their lovely brand new baby. She's gorgeous.
So they've
of course.
Yeah, so they've got a new addition.
Yeah.
You're struggling with your microphone here, aren't you? Can we just clip it somewhere?
Yeah, there.
There we are. So I just worried, because I did one where it unclipped and it was...
Yeah, we don't want that happening.
We don't want that. So what happens? So he works. What does he do?
He's in the army.
So that is an interesting thing, isn't it? Because your ex was in the Navy, so they go away for a long time.
Yes.
How does the other half cope with that?
Fortunately, he is based here in the UK. He doesn't.
Right.
He's not been.
It's not posted overseas or anything.
Dispatched is not the word.
I hope
Deployed.
It's not being, yes,
Deployed.
I
I knew
hope
it
he's
was a
not
D.
being dispatched.
No, exactly. Let me know. No. So no, he's on paternity leave at the minute. So
Right.
fortunately, he's in a job where he gets paternity leave.
Yes.
Not everyone's granted that, which I think is terrible.
So he's had a baby. So in maternity leave, you can see the disruption of a new life, like you were just saying, a baby. But how does it cope? How do you cope when your partner is away working for a great length of time?
Well, personally, I mean, I've not been left for a great length. I mean, 2 to 3 weeks was the most
Right.
time. But after 2 weeks, I would start to get the hang of it,
Right.
and
What,
it wouldn't be
his
easy, but
absence?
but it would be better,
Yes.
you know. And by the 3rd week, I'd be, you know.
But it must be
swimming on.
disruptive. I mean, you know,
It is disruptive having someone coming in and coming out.
yeah,
If
because you can't. And how much of planning can you do
Not a lot.
with that? Because do you know? Do people in the military know how long they're going to be away, and then when they're coming back? Do they have a calendar?
They could be told, oh, it'll be 3 months, and it could be extended to 6. But
Right.
you know,
So things like holidays and things that you might want to do together, you might suddenly find that the partner comes back and says, actually, or might not even come back to say it, might just ring you and say, oh, I've got to stay out here for another 2 or 3 weeks. And it's like, oh, but we were going to go to so-and-so and we were going to do such and such. Sorry, love, it's work.
yeah,
And so work very much dominates people's lives, doesn't it?
it does. It does.
But you managed to cope, as you...
We work to live instead of living to work.
Yes, well, that's the other thing. Let's talk about that. I made a decision very early on, I think, that I could see that you only get one life. And if you've only got one life and you have a passion or a dream or something you want to follow, which I appreciate, not many, no, I was going to say not many, but
Not everyone has.
Yes, not everybody has, which I find very strange, because bringing up my children, for example, and you would say, like, to Billy, what would you like to do? And he had no idea, absolutely no idea. Whereas when I was his age, I was already doing filmmaking and stuff. So I had a passion, and I made this decision that I wanted to follow that come what may. Money wasn't the important thing. Yes, I had this notion at the back of my head to do what most people do, is, you know, get married, have kids, have a house, and blah, blah, blah. But I had a career that I knew I wanted to follow. And so my thing was my working was living. My work, you know, so I was doing that, working to live, as opposed to
living to work.
Whichever way round, I'm confused now. No, when you work to live, you go to work, do something you don't like, so that at the weekends and the evenings you can do your things. Yeah. Whereas I wanted to embrace everything, so that my life was my work.
Yes.
And, you know, having a relationship and stuff was just a minor thing on the side. No, I'm joking. It's trying to get that work-life balance. Yeah.
It's always a trick, balancing anything, but, you know, the work-life and relationship balance is a very tricky one.
When you're a mother, though, we're using the sort of dynamics of a partner where one is a mother and full-time, because if you're bringing up children at some point, if you don't have enough money to be able to farm your children out so that somebody else looks after, like with Georgiana and the Duke of Devonshire, in the book that we were reading about the 17th, 18th century.
They'd have the nanny.
Nannies and you know, wet nurses and do everything for you.
Although Georgiana was different to most in her day, because she actually did breastfeed.
Yes.
Most of her children, I think.
So there are, and obviously there are relationships in which the kids, you know, some people do that. But so going back to my relationship with Dawn, my marriage, I said to Dawn, well, we both had an agreement. I said, how do you want to bring up the children? Because do you want to go to work, or shall I carry on working? And do you want to bring up children? And she was very maternal. I mean, I was maternal, but we both couldn't sit there and play with Stanley as a little boy and go, look, he's a little baby, because we needed the money, obviously. So one of us had to make the decision, well, I'll go to work and you'll stay at home. Whereas some people manage it, God knows how, really, that they both go to work and the child is looked after by somebody else, but that has to be paid for.
Yeah.
Or it's a granny or a granddad or a cousin or a brother or a sister or a mother or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's always that agreement. But in my marriage, I went to work, she looked after the children. So again, but when I came back, she would be going, there you go, love. That's your child. I've had enough of him now. Wet nappies and goo-goo-goo-goos all day long. It's your turn. And of course, you know, you would do it because you love your children. And so that's why I'm sort of got into this mire of it's in a couple situation, especially if you've got children, the children suddenly take precedence, don't they?
Absolutely, yeah. Or at least they should do.
Yes. If both of you are not working, if both of you don't have any children, or if you don't want any children, or are in a childless relationship for whatever reason, then your opportunities, I suppose, to either work together or to do separate things are greater, because you're not hampered by the wonders of bringing up children.
The wonders of the miracles of children.
Yes, I think people do forget. I mean, the conversation is sort of, I was wanting to talk about work, particularly in a relationship, but I think children, if you've got children, they just turn everything upside down, don't they?
They do. And my younger brother yesterday was exclaiming as much. Says, I was saying to Anna the other day, what have we done? What have we done? We had it good. And I was like, I know. But no one could have told you, you know, even if I did say it, you wouldn't have understood until you're in the situation.
Yes.
But you know, I did not want to put them off having a child anyway.
No, absolutely.
They've given me the little girl that I won't have myself.
Yes, and that's very, very sad. But
I'm a big girl.
You're a big girl now, and so children are very disruptive. And of course, we may do another one where we're talking about the children and bringing children up and all of that. But finishing off on our conversation about work and working, does it work? For example, us working together, and I mean, at the moment we're in this very flux situation because we're not able to afford a big enough house so that we can embrace your children.
Right.
My children obviously have left home and do their own
But,
thing.
yeah, we need to ideally have some space for if
Yeah.
they need to.
Because my house here is not big enough. But does it work that although my earnings on YouTube at this stage are fairly small, but I can keep my head above water by making these videos, and I can support you a little bit, and not as much as I would like financially at this stage. But does it work that we do this work together?
I think so. I certainly think so. Because, I mean, I could go and get another job, but I would really struggle, A, with the little amount of time I get. No one would want to employ me for like 2 hours. The timings, you know.
And the reason it was only 2 hours, because that's all you can afford to put Joe into childcare.
Yeah. I mean, if I could afford to put him into a bit more childcare, I could claim up to 80% of it back, but I just haven't got that large amount to start with.
No, and loads of people are in the same situation.
Loads of us.
And you know, this is a worrying thing of our times, that the opportunities for young mothers to work and try and better themselves financially is very much restricted, particularly because they may be in the situation where they're either still living with a partner that they no longer like, or they're still at home. I mean, there must be loads of young women who have a partner, but neither of them can afford to get together at this stage because the cost of living and everything, and may well still be at home with a child, wanting to work and stand up on their own 2 feet, and you know, impress their parents and be like their parents by going, yes, I've got a job and I can do this.
And to be able to take their parents out for a meal.
Yes.
And pay for it.
And pay for it, exactly.
That would be nice.
And there's all those things that work provides. And work, obviously, its number one thing is to provide necessary income. But I think these days we're being, you know, the chances and the opportunities for people who just have not fallen from the luck tree into the right place is quite low for people, which is a shame. You know, I think I'm from the end of the boomer generation.
And I'm supposedly an elder elder millennial.
An elder millennial.
Yes.
And of course, you know, when whenever you were born in the time period of life, it's going to affect you. I mean, we're going
to a certain degree, yeah.
To a hell of a lot of a degree on your opportunities. If you're born during if you're born, say, 20 years before a massive recession, that when you're of working age, ready to go and get a job, and you can't get a job, and then if you can't get a job for 2 or 3 years,
and it doesn't matter how qualified you are, how experienced, how this, that, and the other, and keen. If there's no job to be had,
and then it's very difficult to get out of that hole once you're in that hole. And if you're in a relationship, that side of it, and we haven't really spoken about that, when you're wanting to work but can't, the mood swings and the frustration is going to affect your relationship, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I mean, I know that if I had no opportunity to get my creative skills out, and I just had to go and do, say, a dead-end job.
9 to 5, stacking shelves.
I mean, I would, clearly, if there was no other choice. I'd rather do that than nothing.
Oh, yeah.
But all the time I would be thinking, how do I get out of this to do something that will better myself and improve my position, and also support whatever people who are
relying on you.
Yeah, exactly. But it would relate, you know, if one comes back from work depressed, fed up, you've been shat on by people above you, or your colleagues, and you've been made to feel stupid and unimportant and all of that. When you come home, you're going to take it out. Well, not necessarily going to take it out, but you're going to need that reassurance from your partner. One of the things that I used to have with, and I don't know whether you had this, and it'd be interesting to find out, is when I was married, or indeed when I was seeing my other ex, Harriet, they both, for a period, worked in offices. and they would come back and give me office politics and the soap opera. So I would hear about these characters at the office, never have met them, but it would be, oh, well, so-and-so's now sitting opposite me, and oh my goodness, she chews chewing gum and it drives me up the wall.
Do you know, whether the work, I hated working in an office, it's rubbish, so, those dramas and stuff might be all that makes it.
Yeah.
But it's just as bad having a teacher coming home and then, oh, so-and-so this, and oh, this class was done.
Oh, yes, your mum being a teacher.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I was thinking,
No, I've never been married to a teacher.
So did your husband bring back stories from stuff and talk about that to sort of get it out the system?
I tried to encourage that, but
no.
It
So
would
again,
all be bottled up.
So I think that's another thing. It's so often your partner, if one does work, or even if you both work, that sort of dumping the stuff that's buzzing around in your mind is so vital, isn't it? Now, I often do, as people hopefully know, a Naked Englishman podcast in which I sort of spew all that out into a podcast and let it go off into the podosphere, and I get rid of it. And some people think, oh, golly, you're a morose bugger. But as soon as I said it all, it's off my mind. And I think that's the same when you come back from work and you go, oh, that Jenny Flaherty was just on my nerves all day. Yeah, ringing me this, telling me this, email there, memo here, and you just need to dump it, don't you?
Yeah, I have to admit, if things ever get that bad and I really need that kind of a download, I'll write it down and I'll burn that, because
Right.
I don't want anyone knowing all of that. I don't want anyone hearing that. So
No.
I've always thought it was really brave of you to do that, to
Yeah.
go and write it all out. I've done it again. Stop it. And
Done what again?
the
Oh, I see.
stupid bunny ears with
Yeah.
quote marks. I forgot what I was saying.
No, but you don't. You admired the fact that I just
Yes,
spew it out.
yeah.
So, well, anyway, so there you go. That's a look at work within partners, and of course we could have.
I think we talked around the subject a fair bit. But,
Yeah, absolutely. But work is obviously important. It obviously influences your partnership. It can make and enhance, but it can also
it could also break.
break if one can't get the work and is depressed, or if there's things. And being able to talk, which is another subject in itself, with each other about those things, I think is
vital,
is
yeah.
absolutely vital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
all sorts of situations where couples can be working together, like landlord of a pub.
what would be your dream job if we didn't do this rubbish, if we did something else
Dream job.
with me?
With you,
Yeah, no, as a partnership, as in two people doing something.
it would be vlogging.
Oh, so it is doing this.
It would be vlogging our farmstead.
Oh yes, there you
That
go.
would be the dream. That is the dream.
That is the dream. So there we are. And when it comes to who's going to kill the pig, that's not a decision I'm looking forward to.
No.
No,
It's one that we'll have to deal with one day. But
Thank
we don't
you.
even have the pig, so we don't have to worry yet.
not yet. We haven't quite made the bacon. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to follow, like and subscribe and all of that. The comments are on this video, so you can leave a comment and tell us about your job and how it affected your relationship. Love to hear from you. But from us,
That's a tatty bye.